Hi all, welcome to my channel, welcome to my world, to the world of Wayne. We now got stage 10 of Eagle Master Hero Collector's Build Your Own Ecto-1. Okay, this is the final stage in this delivery, so there'll probably be a few weeks now until we get the next delivery, which should have 11, 12, 13 and 14 in. In this one, as you can see, we are building the generator or the alternator and the oil filter, and there is lots of little fiddly things to put in there as well. Let me just show you that on camera. Don't quite know how long this is going to take, or even if we're going to need the magnifying glass, but it is only spread over these 2 pages here. As you can see, that's it after that. I don't know if it shows us what we've got coming in the next one. Yes, it does. Look, there we go. Looks like we've got a bit of a chassis there, but some suspension. Looks like it's got some brake disc calipers there. All sorts of things, and lots of those pipes there. Obviously they're going to be for the HT, I would have thought, but as I said, that will probably be coming in 3 weeks. Now you can still get this yourself. Once again, as I said, I'm going to put this in the description. I've also put a banner up here so you can get it, regarding what country you're in. If you're in the US or the UK, you can just follow those links there. You can sign up for this yourself. But without further ado, let's get on with the oil filter and the alternator. You know, one of the big tricks of doing these builds is to actually open it without everything going everywhere. It reminds me of all that game. Do you remember the game Frustration, where you take off and if you don't do it in time, all the pieces come up and explode everywhere? Obviously, I've managed to get that out without that doing that. But that's what it all looks like. So the first thing we need are the alternator. They keep calling it a generator. I'm calling it an alternator. We need the alternator bracket and supports, which look just like this here and just like this here. Now, all of these bits are plastic, but the way we're going to be putting this on, you see this side that we've got a screw hole there, but it's also got a bit coming out here. We want to make sure that it's the actual flat side, which is going to be going towards this bracket. Now, there's nothing actually holding this in, so when we actually screw this in, it's going to be a little bit funky to try and keep the screw in one place. Now, the screw that's going to take is an FM screw. So what I'm going to do, I've already loaded it up. Look how tiny that is. I'm going to start putting this through and see if we can get this in first time. Well, I've held it in place, so that's always a good sign. Let's tighten it up. But I'm not going to tighten it too much because I'm guessing this is going to attach to something on the engine. So I am going to leave it a little bit loose there, and I'll tighten that up when I put it on the engine, because obviously these mounts are going to attach to it. And as a matter of fact, that's exactly what it wants me to do now. So I'm going to bring the engine over here, and this is going to be going on this side here of the timing belt cover. And it's going to fit onto these 2 holes that we've got here. Show you this way around, and there. The bracket's actually going to go in just like that. I am aware my hand is getting in the way, so you can't see that, but it's going to go on kind of like that. Now that is going to be secured in with EP screws. So let's get them together. So I'm hoping you can see on one of the cameras. But if I get one in the top there, just to keep that into place, that's not going to fall out now, as you can see. And I'm going to put the other one in the bottom. Now, just looking at the one I put in the bottom first, it looks like that hole is not going to be big enough. So I'm going to check that as it goes in with my screwdriver, because I think there's a bit of paint on that hole. Yep, there was. I've just opened it up with my screwdriver there. So we should be able to put that in now and have absolutely no problems whatsoever. Now, because this is tricky and I'm balancing the engine while I do this, I'm holding the screwdriver like a pen. I'm going to start that screwing slowly. There we go. That is now completely in. So now I can go to town and make this perfectly tight. There we go. And that bracket is now in solidly, looking just like that. Had a spark plug fall out there, but there we go. They're all back in. But that bracket's now on like that. This section here is still loose. I'm leaving it loose until we actually put the alternator in. So we can put that to one side, because we're actually going to build the generator now, as they call it. So what we need to do is take the generator body, looking like that, just holding it this way up so that we've got the holes for the screws and the mounting points on top. Then we're going to be pushing in the inner of the generator just into this side here. So that goes in like that. So we've got this hole on this side. Then we're going to be putting the cap in. This is what the cap looks like. just like that. That's going to be going over the top like that. Then we want to put this section on here. Now, you'll be tempted to put the other side in so it fits flush to that, but the side we want to put enables us to have a little gap between these two parts here, which a belt is eventually going to go around. Then, what we want to do, this is going to get a bit tricky now, we want to push this onto the end of the inner section that we had there. Trying to describe all these parts while I do it is pretty impressive, so that the whole thing is going to look like that. Then we want to hold all of this together with a DP screw. This is the longer one we've got. This is just going to go down the end of the inner that we had here. So, doing it slowly until it's tight. And then when that's fully in, which it is now, this is all one unit here. But as you can see, we've got the gap in there that's going to have a belt. And we've still got all of these in line that we can actually mount it with. We also want to make sure that the top section here is in line with all the other holes that we've got there. Now we've got 3 generator plugs to put in. These come in a bag, looking just like that. So we get these out. And these are going to go into the holes on the top. 2 are going to be pointing towards the back end of the alternator there, and 1's going to be coming off to the side. So I'll get them pushed in. That's 1 in. Making sure that the sides that are obviously coming out will be having pipes on them, or cables. So once they're in, it should be the thinner section there that's actually coming out. And then we put the 1 in that we've got just on the side. This was quite a tricky build, the alternator, I have to say. Thought that was going to be a lot easier than that. But once it's done, show you on the close-up there, it should be looking just like that. Now we've got 1 more bracket to put on the alternator, looking just like this here. That's just going to go where you can see a dot there, flush against that, and then we're going to secure that in with an EP screw. Now I've got an EP screw ready. It's going to look like that when it goes in actually. I didn't explain how it looks when it goes in. So let's get this in the hole. Just like that. I'm going to make that tight, but once again, I'm not going to tighten the full thing up. I want to let it have a little bit of play. So when I attach this to the engine, it's going to have no problems lining up. And now we are at the part where we're going to align this to the engine. So the top section of the alternator here is going to be going into this hole, screw hole just there. So we're going to offer up the alternator then to that hole there, and making sure that this bracket is in front. Oh, sorry, making sure the alternator is in front of the bracket. And then get that screwed in. Now this one we can put in as tight as we can get it, so that now holds the alternator in place. The next hole that we've got is just on the manifold, just there. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. This is going to line up this bracket then with that hole. And that's going to be secured in with an EP screw. So once again, I'm going to get that lined up and we'll get that in. It's very tricky. But I'm trying to show you as I screw it in there. And that will keep the alternator in place. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to tighten this last screw that I had here completely up. And then that will be the alternator sturdy in position just like that. Now on this section on the back here where we had the wire coming off from the coil, we've got some water pump housing. That's looking just like this. That's going to go on those 4 holes that we got there, just like so. This has got a little lug in the middle there, so you can put it on the right way around, because it's going to match that hole or the dash that we've got there to seat that perfectly. Just like so. Now that's going to be held in with 3 GP screws. Just putting them in quite gently. I'm not actually tightening them all up yet. They don't want us to put anything into the top hole. If you look at the picture here, they don't want us to put any screw in that hole there for some reason. No idea why. Perhaps there's something else to go in there. I'll put the last one in here and then we'll tighten them all up. So when that's in, That's going to look just like that. And as you can see, I've got one hole there where a screw isn't in. So I'm hoping in a later stage we might have to put one in, but I will save a screw just in case. And then the last thing we're going to do in this is we're going to build the oil filter. So we've got 3 parts left here. Let's get them out. And quite simply, we're just going to take the housing there. We're going to be putting in the long cylinder here, just into one end. And that locks in place like that. As you can see, it has actually got some wings on the side there, which are going to fit into that hole. So that will go in like that. And then we're going to be putting a cap on the other side. Just like that. That's now one complete unit. We want to hold that all in place with a DP screw. So we've got that loaded up here. And that's just going to go into the end, just onto this section here. And that will keep everything in place, ensure it doesn't fall to bits. There we go. Looking just like that. And then we're going to want to bring the engine back over again. And this is going to be mounting just to the top of the water pump there, which is why we had to miss that screw out. Now I know. See, I should have read ahead in the instructions. I'm so caught up in the moment that I haven't done that. Hopefully, I'm trying to get it so you can see me put this in. There we go. So if I put that in that way, and you'll be able to see it on the top camera. Just into there. Just loosely. Now, once that's on there, we are going to be putting another screw in here to keep that in the engine block. It doesn't want me to do that yet. I'm guessing we've got another piece just to put over the top of those sections there. So that is all we have to do in that issue. 2 really fiddly things, but they do make this engine really come alive, don't they? You know, I do get nervous when you've got bits that are on and you can tell that a screw needs to go in there, but we don't have to do it in this issue. And bearing in mind that we've now got about 3 weeks before the next delivery comes, I need to make sure that these screws are stored safely in my box here, because I've got a funny feeling we are going to need them later on. But that was actually a lot fiddlier than the last issue, so I don't know why that was. Perhaps it's because it's late in the day. Anyway, look, once again, if you want to order yourself, I'll put the banner down here. But if you did like that video, please remember to give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed already, please remember to subscribe. Other than that, take care.